The rain came down in sheets, turning the Chicago streets into rivers of gray. Sophie Chen stood under the library's awning at 9:45 at night, clutching a leather-bound book wrapped in plastic against her chest. The book was worth more than her car, more than 6 months of her salary, and it was 3 days overdue. She should have returned it during business hours, should have handed it to Mrs. Patterson at the circulation desk with an apologetic smile and paid the late fee. But the address on the library card wasn't a home. It was a restaurant in Little Italy, the kind of place that appeared in tourist guides with $4 signs and warnings about reservations months in advance. Sophie had called twice. Both times, a man with a voice like gravel had told her Mr. Russo was unavailable. The third time, she decided to return it in person. Get it over with. Stop worrying about the most expensive book in the rare collections department sitting in her tiny apartment. Her daughter, Lily, sat on the bench behind her, swinging her legs and humming. 6 years old, dark curls escaping from her ponytail, completely unconcerned that they were standing in the rain at almost 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Mama, are we going to the fancy restaurant? Lily asked, her voice bright with excitement. Just to drop something off, sweetheart. We won't stay, but it smells so good. Lily's nose wrinkled as she sniffed the air. Garlic, tomatoes, fresh bread. Even from across the street, Russo's filled the neighborhood with the scent of home cooking elevated to art. Sophie checked her watch. The restaurant closed at 11. If she was going to do this, it had to be now. She took Lily's hand and crossed the street, dodging puddles. The front door was heavy, dark wood with brass fixtures. Through the frosted glass, Sophie could see warm light and the shadows of people moving. She pushed it open. The noise hit her first. Laughter, conversations in Italian and English, the clatter of dishes and silverware. Then the smell, rich and overwhelming in the best way. Sophie's stomach reminded her that she and Lily had eaten cereal for dinner, because payday wasn't until Friday. A hostess appeared, young and beautiful in a black dress that probably cost more than Sophie's entire wardrobe. I'm sorry, we're fully booked tonight. If you'd like to make a reservation, I'm not here to eat. Sophie held up the wrapped book. I need to return this to Mr. Russo. It's from the library. The hostess's smile froze. Mr. Russo is dining. I can take that for you. I really need to return it directly. It's rare collections. There's paperwork. Miss, I can't just... What's the problem, Angela? A man appeared beside the hostess. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that fit like it had been made for him, which it probably had been. His dark hair was graying at the temples, his face all sharp angles and watchful eyes. He looked at Sophie the way a hawk looks at a mouse. This woman wants to see Mr. Russo, Angela said. About a book. The man's eyes dropped to the package in Sophie's arms, then to Lily standing beside her. Something flickered across his face. Follow me. He led them through the dining room. Sophie kept her eyes down, painfully aware of her rain-soaked coat and worn shoes among the designer dresses and tailored suits. Lily, however, stared at everything with wide eyes, taking in the crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths and waiters who moved like dancers. They reached a private dining room at the back. The man knocked once, then opened the door. Someone to see you, boss. Says it's about a book. Sophie stepped inside and her breath caught. The room was smaller than the main dining area, intimate. A single table, elegantly set. And sitting at the head of that table was a man who made the entire restaurant fade into background noise. Dante Russo was probably in his early 40s, though it was hard to tell. Dark hair, darker eyes, the kind of face that belonged on Roman coins. Masculine, powerful, dangerous. He wore his authority like other men wore cologne, something that filled the space around him. He looked up from his wine glass and his eyes locked onto Sophie's. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Miss Chen. His voice was deep, cultured, with the barest trace of an Italian accent. I was wondering when you'd arrive. Sophie's throat went dry. You were expecting me? A book from the rare collections department doesn't go missing without the library making inquiries. He gestured to an empty chair. Sit. It wasn't a request. Sophie sat, pulling Lily onto her lap. The little girl was unusually quiet, her instincts telling her this was someone important, someone to be careful around. Dante's eyes hadn't left Sophie's face. You called 3 times. My people told you I was unavailable. Yet here you are at 9:52 on a Tuesday night with my book. It's the library's book, Sophie corrected automatically, then wished she hadn't. I mean, you checked it out 6 weeks ago. It was due last Friday. I tried to reach you during business hours, but you have a daughter to pick up from school and a second job at the coffee shop on Morgan Street. Dante leaned back in his chair. You work 53 hours a week and still qualify for food assistance. You drive a 2008 Honda with a cracked windshield. You live in a one-bedroom apartment in Pilsen, and you've never been late, returning a book in 8 years of working at the Chicago Public Library. Sophie felt like she'd been slapped. How do you know all that? I know everything about people who have something that belongs to me. His tone was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. The question is, why did you bring it here yourself instead of sending it through proper channels? Because it's worth $47,000, Sophie said, her voice steadier than she felt. And I'm responsible for it. I wanted to make sure it got back to you safely, that you signed for it, that there was no confusion. Responsible. Dante repeated the word like it was foreign. Most people would have left it at the front desk. Let someone else handle it, but not you. It's my job. It's more than that. His eyes narrowed slightly. You care about books the way some people care about children. I've seen your recommendations in the system, the notes you leave for patrons. You don't just check out books, Miss Chen. You match them to people, like you're introducing friends. Sophie didn't know what to say to that. It was true, but she'd never thought anyone noticed. Dante gestured to the package. May I? Sophie unwrapped the book carefully. Leather binding, gold leaf lettering, pages that were more than 200 years old. A first edition of Dante Alighieri's Inferno, annotated by the poet himself. It was one of only 3 known copies in existence. Dante took it with the reverence it deserved, his fingers gentle on the aged leather. My great-great-grandfather brought this to America in 1897. It's been in my family ever since. Then why did you donate it to the library? I didn't. His jaw tightened. My late wife did, 3 months before she died. She thought books should be shared, not locked away in private collections. He opened the cover, and Sophie saw an inscription in faded ink. For Maria, who taught me that hell isn't a place. It's being unable to love. This was my wedding gift to her. Sophie's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. How could you? He closed the book carefully. But now you understand why I wanted it back. Why I checked it out on permanent loan and why I don't return calls from librarians. We don't do permanent loans, Sophie said quietly. Not even for rare collections. The maximum is 6 weeks, renewable twice. You've had it for 3 renewals past that. And you're here to enforce the rules. Something that might have been amusement flickered in his eyes. Brave of you. I'm not brave. I'm just doing my job. Lily shifted on Sophie's lap, her attention drawn to the book. She leaned forward, her small hand reaching out. Pretty pictures. Sophie caught her wrist gently. Don't touch, baby. It's very old and very delicate. But Dante was staring at Lily like he'd seen a ghost. His face had gone completely still, all color draining away. His eyes, which had been sharp and assessing when looking at Sophie, now held something close to shock as they fixed on the little girl. How old is she? His voice was rough, strained. Sophie's maternal instincts flared. She pulled Lily closer. 6. Why? Her eyes. Dante's hand tightened on the table edge. What's her name? Lily. Sophie stood up, the book forgotten. Mr. Russo. What's wrong? He didn't answer. He just kept staring at Lily's face. At her dark curls, her small nose, but mostly at her eyes. They were unusual, Sophie knew. Gray-green with gold flecks, striking against Lily's olive skin. People commented on them all the time. But Dante wasn't just noticing them. He looked like he was seeing something impossible. Those eyes, he whispered. Dio mio. Those exact eyes. The door opened. The man who'd led them back appeared. Boss, the Marconi meeting is in 15. He stopped, seeing Dante's face. What happened? Get out. Dante's voice was quiet but absolute. Everyone out. Close the restaurant. Now. Boss. Now, Vincent. The man named Vincent looked between Dante, Sophie, and Lily. Then he nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Sophie was already moving toward the exit, Lily in her arms. We should go. Wait. Dante stood, and Sophie's instincts screamed at her to run. Please. I'm not going to hurt you. I just need to ask you something. You're scaring my daughter. I'm scaring myself, he said, and the raw honesty in his voice stopped her. Miss Chen, Sophie, please, just answer. One question. Against every survival instinct she had, Sophie paused at the door. What? Lily's father. Where is he? Gone. Sophie's voice hardened. He left before she was born. Never met her, never wanted to. His name, that's none of your business. Please. And there it was again, that crack in the armor. I'm begging you. What was his name? Sophie looked at this powerful man, this dangerous man, and saw something she never expected to see. Desperation. Raw, unfiltered, need to know. Marco, she said finally. Marco Tesoro. We met at a library fundraiser 7 years ago. He was charming, said all the right things. We dated for 3 months. Then I got pregnant and he disappeared. Blocked my number, moved away. I tried to find him to tell him about Lily, but he was gone. Like he'd never existed. Dante sank back into his chair. His hands were shaking. Marco Tesoro. My sister's son. My nephew. The world tilted. What? Sophie's voice came out as a whisper. Marco is my nephew. Was. He died 5 years ago in a car accident in Milan. Dante's eyes were fixed on Lily again. He had those exact eyes. Gray-green with gold flecks. It's a genetic trait that runs in our family. Rare. Distinctive. No. Sophie shook her head. That's not possible. He was just some guy. He wasn't connected to. She looked around the elegant private dining room, at the man who'd known everything about her with a single phone call. Oh my God. You didn't know. Dante stood slowly, like he was approaching a frightened animal. You had no idea who he was. What family he came from. He said he worked in finance, that he was from New York. That's all I knew. Sophie's mind was racing. Are you saying that my family owns this restaurant, and 30 others across the country, and several import businesses, and various other enterprises that I won't discuss in front of your daughter? His meaning was clear. Marco was supposed to be helping run our New York operations. Instead, he was here in Chicago, using a fake identity, hiding from responsibilities. He lied about everything. Sophie felt sick. That was Marco's specialty. Dante's voice was bitter. Lying, running, disappointing everyone who cared about him. His mother, my sister Gabriella, died still hoping he'd come home, still believing he'd change. Lily had been quiet through all of this, sensing the tension but not understanding it. Now she tugged on Sophie's sleeve. Mama, I'm hungry. The simple statement broke the moment. Of course, baby. Sophie headed for the door. We're leaving now. Let me feed you. Dante's words stopped her. Both of you, please. It's late, you're hungry, and we have more to discuss. We don't have anything to discuss. Sophie. He said her name like a prayer and a curse. That little girl is my great niece, my sister's granddaughter, the only piece of Gabriella and Marco I have left. Do you really think I'm going to let you walk out that door without understanding what this means? Sophie looked at him, this stranger who'd just become family in the most impossible way. What does it mean? It means everything just changed. Dante pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. It means you and Lily aren't leaving here tonight without my protection. Because the moment anyone in my world finds out she exists, she becomes a target. A target? She's 6 years old. She's a Russo. His voice was hard now, all business. And in my world, that's the most dangerous thing you can be. Before Sophie could respond, Vincent appeared with 2 other men. Large, serious, with the kind of awareness that screamed security. Clear the restaurant, Dante ordered. Full security sweep. No one leaves until I say so. And call Dr. Castellano. I need genetic testing. Tonight. Boss, what's going on? Vincent asked. Dante looked at Lily, and Sophie saw something crack in his expression. Wonder, grief, and a fierce protectiveness that made her breath catch. Family business, Dante said quietly. I just found out I have a great niece. And she's been living across town, unprotected, for 6 years while I had no idea she existed. Vincent's eyes widened. He looked at Lily, at her distinctive eyes, and Sophie saw recognition dawn. Dio mio. She looks just like Marco, like Gabriella, Like my father. Dante's voice roughened. Which means anyone who knew them will see it too. And that makes her a target for every rival family that's ever wanted to hurt the Russos. Sophie pulled Lily closer. Nobody's going to hurt her. We're leaving. Now. You can try. Dante's voice was soft but absolute. But there are 4 men at every exit, and they won't let you leave without my permission. Not because I want to keep you prisoner, but because I need you to understand the danger you're in. You can't keep us here. I can, and I will, until you listen. He gestured to the table. Sit. Eat. Let me explain what your daughter's existence means. Then, if you still want to leave, I'll have Vincent drive you home personally, but you deserve to know what you're walking into. Sophie wanted to fight, wanted to run. But Lily was tired and hungry, and this man had just claimed them as family in a world she didn't understand. A world where 6-year-olds could be targets just for existing. So she sat, and listened, and realized that returning a library book had just changed her life forever. Dante made a call, and within minutes, food appeared. Not restaurant food, but family food. Homemade pasta with meat sauce, garlic bread, a simple salad. The kind of meal you served to people you cared about, not strangers. Lily dove in with the enthusiasm of a hungry child. Sophie picked at her plate, her appetite gone, her mind spinning. My sister Gabriella was the youngest of 5, Dante said, his voice quiet. Beautiful, kind, too soft for our world. She married a good man, had Marco, thought she could give him a normal life, despite the family business. But you can't escape blood, Miss Chen. It follows you. You keep saying the family business like I'm supposed to know what that means. Dante's smile was dark. You work in a library. You read. You're intelligent. You know exactly what it means. You just don't want to say it out loud. Sophie met his eyes. You're in the mob. We prefer family business, but yes. The Russo family has controlled Chicago's Italian district for 4 generations. Restaurants, imports, construction, and other things we don't discuss in front of children. Lily was absorbed in twirling pasta on her fork, not paying attention to the adult conversation. Marco didn't want any part of it, Dante continued. He ran away when he was 22, changed his name, moved around, lived off cash jobs and charm. His mother spent 5 years looking for him before cancer took her. She died never knowing where he was, never getting to say goodbye. I'm sorry, Sophie said, and meant it. When Marco came back to Chicago using a fake identity, I didn't know. None of us did. He was here for 3 months, just long enough to meet you, get you pregnant, and disappear again. Dante's jaw tightened. If I'd known, I would have made him stay. Made him face his responsibilities. You can't make someone be a father. No. But I could have ensured he provided for you. That you didn't spend the last 6 years struggling. He gestured to her worn coat, her tired eyes. You work 2 jobs to support her. Live in a 1-bedroom apartment where the heat doesn't always work. Qualify for assistance but don't take it because you're too proud. I could have changed all that. I don't want your money. It's not charity, she's family. And family takes care of family. Sophie shook her head. We don't need anything from you. We've been fine on our own. Have you? Dante leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, you're 1 emergency away from losing everything. 1 broken car, 1 missed shift, 1 illness. The margin you're living on, it's not sustainable. It's my life, my choice. Not anymore. His voice was gentle but firm. The moment I saw Lily's eyes, the moment I knew she was Gabriella's granddaughter, everything changed. You can hate me for it. You can fight me. But I will not allow my great niece to grow up unprotected, struggling, vulnerable. She's not vulnerable. She has me. And who do you have? Dante asked quietly. Your parents died in a car accident when you were 19. You have no siblings, no extended family. Your emergency contact at work is your landlord. You're alone, Sophie. Completely alone. The truth of it hit harder than it should have. Sophie had built a life for herself and Lily through sheer determination. But it was a fragile life. 1 bad break away from collapse. What are you suggesting? She asked carefully. Move in with me. Sophie laughed, high and sharp. Absolutely not. I have a house in Lincoln Park. 6 bedrooms, full security, staff who can help with Lily. She'd have her own room, her own bathroom, a yard to play in, a driver to take her to school. You wouldn't have to work yourself to exhaustion anymore. In exchange for what? In exchange for letting me protect you. Both of you. Dante's eyes were steady on hers. And for letting me know, my great niece. I failed Gabriella. I failed Marco. I won't fail, Lily. This is insane. You're asking me to move into your house with a child you just met. Why would I trust you? Because you don't have a choice. His voice hardened. Sophie, listen to me carefully. Lily has the Russo eyes. Anyone who's ever seen my father, my sister, or Marco will recognize her instantly. The Moretti family, the Calabrese family, the Marinos, they all have long memories and old grudges. If they find out Gabriella has a granddaughter, they'll what? Come after a 6-year-old? They'll use her. As leverage, as revenge, as a way to hurt me. Dante's hands clenched, on the table. 3 months ago, the Moretti family tried to bomb this restaurant during dinner service. 26 people were inside. The only reason they're not all dead is because my security found the device in time. Sophie's blood ran cold. Last year, Dante continued, the Calabrese family kidnapped the daughter of one of my associates. She was 8 years old. They held her for 3 days before we got her back. What they did to her in those 3 days. He stopped, his voice rough. She'll never be the same. Stop, Sophie whispered. Please stop. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you understand. This isn't paranoia. This is reality. And now that Lily exists, now that she's connected to me, that reality includes her. Lily looked up from her plate, tomato sauce on her chin. Mama, why are you crying? Sophie hadn't realized she was. She wiped her eyes quickly. I'm fine, baby. Just tired. Dante pulled a phone from his pocket and showed her a photo. This is my house. I want you to see what I'm offering. Sophie looked at the screen. The house was beautiful. A massive brownstone with a wrought iron fence and a garden that looked like something from a magazine. Nothing like her tiny apartment with its peeling paint and broken heater. Lily would have safety, stability, everything she needs, Dante said. And you'd have support, help. You wouldn't be alone anymore. I'd be dependent on you. That's not help, that's control. It's both. He didn't lie. I won't pretend otherwise. But would you rather have independence and constant danger, or protection and security? I want my daughter to be safe and free. In my world, you can't have both. Dante's voice softened. But I can give her the next best thing. Safety first. Freedom as much as possible. And a family who will die before letting anyone hurt her. Sophie looked at Lily, innocent and beautiful, with eyes that marked her as a Russo whether she knew it or not. And she thought about the broken heater, the cracked windshield, the constant worry that she'd lose her job or get sick or run out of money. She thought about men with bombs and kidnapped children, and a world she'd never wanted to be part of. I need time, Sophie said finally. To think. To process. You have until morning. Dante stood. Vincent will drive you home. 4 of my men will watch your building tonight. Tomorrow, you'll bring Lily to my house for breakfast. You'll meet my staff, see the security, understand what I'm offering. And if I say no? Dante's expression was unreadable. Then I'll respect your decision. But the protection stays. Whether you live in my house or yours, whether you accept my help or not, Lily is family now. And family is always protected. He walked to where Lily sat, her attention back on her pasta. Slowly, carefully, he knelt beside her chair. Lily, he said gently, my name is Dante. I knew your daddy when he was young. Lily's eyes went wide. You knew my daddy? Mama said he went away. He did. But before he left, he was part of my family, which means you're part of my family too. Like cousins? Something like that. Dante's voice was rough. Would you like to come visit my house tomorrow? I have a big yard with a swing set, and a cook who makes the best chocolate chip cookies you've ever tasted. Lily looked at Sophie for permission. Can we, Mama? Sophie wanted to say no, wanted to grab Lily and run and never look back. But Dante's words echoed in her mind. Family is always protected. And the sad truth was, she couldn't protect Lily from this world. Not alone, not without help. We'll visit, Sophie said carefully. Just visit. Dante nodded, stood, and offered his hand. That's all I ask. Sophie didn't take it. She gathered Lily, their coats, and followed Vincent to a black SUV that screamed money and danger. As they drove through the rainy Chicago streets, Lily fell asleep against Sophie's side. Sophie watched the city lights, blur past, and tried to figure out when her simple life had turned into something out of a movie. She'd gone to return a library book. That's all. One simple, responsible act. Now she was connected to a Mafia family. The daughter she'd raised alone for 6 years was suddenly a target, and a man with dangerous eyes and devastating power had just claimed them both. Sophie closed her eyes and wished she could go back to this morning, to cereal for dinner and late fees and a life that was hard but hers. But there was no going back. Not anymore. The only way forward was through, and tomorrow morning, she'd have to decide just how far she was willing to go to keep her daughter safe. Behind them, in a restaurant being swept by security teams, Dante Russo stood at the window and watched the SUV disappear into the night. Vincent appeared beside him. "Boss, are you sure about this? Bringing civilians into the house? It's a risk. Everything's a risk." Dante's hand pressed against the glass. "But that little girl has Gabriella's eyes. Marco's eyes. She's family, Vincent. The only family I have left that isn't dead or in prison. The other families will find out eventually." "I know." Dante's voice went cold. "Which is why we move first. Double the security on the house. Background checks on everyone Sophie knows. I want to know who's been near that child for the last 6 years. And if Miss Chen refuses your offer?" "She won't." Dante turned from the window. "Because she's intelligent enough to know I'm right, that she can't protect Lily alone. That this world will swallow them both if they try to stay outside of it. You're gambling that her fear will override her independence. I'm gambling that her love for her daughter will." Dante headed for the door. "And that's a bet I'll win every time." He left the restaurant, climbed into his own SUV, and gave his driver an address he hadn't visited in 3 years. The cemetery was dark and quiet, the rain still falling in soft sheets. Dante walked through the graves until he found the one he was looking for. Gabriella Maria Russo. Beloved mother, sister, friend. He knelt on the wet grass and placed his hand on the cold stone. "I found her, Gabby," he whispered. "Marco's daughter. Your granddaughter. She's beautiful. She has your eyes." His voice broke. "I'm sorry I didn't know sooner. Sorry I couldn't bring her to you before you died. But I'll take care of her now. I swear it. The way I should have taken care of Marco." The rain fell harder. Mixing with tears, Dante hadn't known he was crying. "I'll keep her safe," he promised the stone, the sister, the memory. "Even if she hates me for it. Even if her mother fights me every step. That little girl will never know the life Marco ran from. Never feel unsafe or alone. I'll make sure of it." He stood slowly, water dripping from his coat, his hair, his face. "Rest now, Gabby. I've got this." And as Dante walked back through the graves, he made another silent promise. To protect Lily Chen with everything he had, from every threat that existed, including the darkness of the world she'd been born into. Even if it meant becoming the monster her mother feared he was. Because sometimes, monsters were the only ones strong enough to protect innocence, and Dante Russo had been a monster for a very long time. Sophie didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Lily slept peacefully beside her, one small arm thrown across Sophie's stomach. Through the thin walls she could hear Mrs. Park's television, the couple upstairs arguing, the familiar sounds of her life. Except nothing was familiar anymore. At 3 a.m, she got up and looked out the window. The black SUV was still there, parked across the street. 2 men sat inside watching, protecting, Dante had said, but it felt like surveillance. Sophie made tea she didn't drink and tried to process the impossible. Marco Tesoro, the charming man who'd swept her off her feet at a library fundraiser 7 years ago, had been Marco Russo, a Mafia prince running from his family. And the daughter he'd never known existed had just become part of that world, whether Sophie wanted it or not. Her phone buzzed at 6 a.m, unknown number. "Miss Chen," Dante's voice formal but not cold. "I hope I didn't wake you. I haven't slept. Neither have I." A pause. "Vincent will arrive at 9 to bring you to my home. Please pack a bag for Lily. Clothes, toys, whatever makes her comfortable. I said we'd visit. Not move in. I know what you said, but after you see what I'm offering, after you understand the security measures, you'll make a different choice. I'm confident of that. You're very sure of yourself. I'm sure of what's best for my great niece." His voice softened. "Sophie, I'm not your enemy. I know this is overwhelming, but I'm trying to help. By controlling my life, by protecting it. There's a difference. Sophie wanted to argue, but Lily was stirring, and she didn't want to have this conversation where her daughter could hear. 9 o'clock. We'll be ready. She hung up before he could respond. The morning routine was mechanical. Cereal, getting Lily dressed, packing a small backpack with coloring books and Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed cat that Lily couldn't sleep without. Sophie stood in front of her closet and realized she had nothing appropriate to wear to a Mafia boss's mansion. Everything was Target clearance rack and thrift store finds. She chose her best jeans and a sweater that wasn't pilled. It would have to do. At exactly 9 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. Not Vincent, but a woman. Late 50s, elegant in a tailored coat, with kind eyes and steel gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. Miss Chen, I'm Rosa Castellano. Mr. Russo's housekeeper. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. He thought you might be more comfortable with a woman escort this morning. Sophie appreciated the gesture more than she wanted to admit. Thank you. Eyes found Lily, and something softened in her expression. And this must be Lily. Mr. Russo has told me so much about you, sweetheart. We've been preparing your room all night. I get my own room? Lily's eyes went wide. The biggest one in the house, except for Mr. Russo's. Rosa smiled. With a window seat and bookshelves and space for all your toys. We're just visiting, Sophie said quickly. Rosa's smile was knowing. Of course, just visiting. The drive to Lincoln Park took 20 minutes. Lily pressed her nose to the window, watching the neighborhoods transform from Sophie's working-class area to tree-lined streets with houses that looked like they belonged in movies. Then they pulled up to Dante's brownstone, and Sophie's breath caught. The photos hadn't done it justice. 3 stories of dark brick and tall windows, with iron gates that opened automatically as they approached. The yard was massive by city standards, with mature trees and a garden that even in early spring looked carefully maintained. And in the back, Sophie could see what looked like a playground. Swings, a slide, something that might be a treehouse. He built that last night, Rosa said quietly, following Sophie's gaze. Called a contractor at midnight and paid triple to have it installed before you arrived. Sophie didn't know what to say to that. Vincent met them at the door, his expression neutral but not unfriendly. Miss Chen, Lily, welcome. The interior was even more impressive than the outside. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, art that was probably original, but unlike some wealthy homes Sophie had seen in magazines, this one felt lived in. There were books on the shelves, a jacket thrown over a chair, the scent of fresh coffee and something baking. Mr. Russo is in his study, Vincent said. He asked if you'd join him there while Rosa shows Lily the playroom. Sophie's hand tightened on Lily's. I'd prefer to stay with my daughter. Of course. Rosa knelt down to Lily's level. How about we explore together, all of us? I made fresh cinnamon rolls this morning, and there's a whole room full of books I think you'd love. The mention of books got Lily's attention. She loved reading, had inherited Sophie's passion for stories. Can we, Mama? Sophie nodded, and they followed Rosa through the house. Each room was more beautiful than the last, but Sophie barely saw the decor. She was too busy cataloging exits, noting the security cameras in every corner, counting the number of staff they passed. 6 so far, all watching them with careful eyes. The playroom made Lily gasp. It was enormous, filled with toys, games, art supplies, and an entire wall of children's books. Brand new, all of them, still in plastic wrapping. Mr. Russo had these delivered this morning, Rosa said. He wasn't sure what you liked, Lily, so he ordered one of everything. Everything? Lily's voice was small with wonder. Sophie felt sick. This was manipulation, buying her daughter's affection with things Sophie could never afford. But watching Lily's face light up, seeing joy she rarely got to experience, Sophie couldn't quite bring herself to protest. Why don't you explore for a bit, sweetheart? Sophie said. I need to talk to Mr. Russo. Can I read this one? Lily held up a picture book about dragons. You can read all of them, Rosa assured her. That's what they're for. Sophie left Lily in Rosa's capable hands and followed Vincent to the study. He knocked once, then opened the door. Dante sat behind a massive desk, papers spread in front of him, phone to his ear. He was speaking rapid Italian, his voice hard and commanding. When he saw Sophie, he ended the call mid-sentence. You came. I said I would. He stood, came around the desk. In daylight, in his own home, he was somehow even more imposing. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the controlled grace of someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was. Coffee? Rosa made breakfast. I want to talk about boundaries. Sophie stayed by the door. If we do this, if we even consider your offer, I need to know what you expect, what the rules are, what control I'm giving up. Dante gestured to the leather chairs by the window. Sit. Please. Sophie sat stiffly. Dante took the chair across from her, close enough to talk quietly, but not close enough to crowd her. She appreciated that. First, he said, you need to understand the threats. Not to scare you, but so you know what we're protecting against. He pulled out a folder and opened it. Inside were photos. Men, mostly. Some looked like businessmen. Others like the kind of people you cross the street to avoid. The Moretti family, Dante said, pointing to an older man with cold eyes. They've been trying to take our territory for 15 years. 3 months ago, they tried to bomb my restaurant. Before that, they killed 2 of my drivers and burned down one of our warehouses. He moved to the next photo. The Calabrese family. They deal in drugs, human trafficking, things my family won't touch. We've been in conflict with them for a decade. Last year, they kidnapped an 8-year-old girl to get leverage over her father, one of my associates. Sophie's stomach turned. The Marinos, the Costello family, the Russians on the north side, all of them have reasons to hurt me. All of them would use a 6-year-old child without hesitation if they knew she was connected to me. Then don't let them know, Sophie said. Keep us separate. We'll stay in our apartment, live our lives. No one has to know about the connection. Sophie. Dante leaned forward. Lily was at my restaurant last night. My private dining room. She was seen by staff, by security. The story is already spreading. By tonight, every family in Chicago will know Gabriella Russo has a granddaughter. By tomorrow, they'll know where you live. You can't know that for certain. I know how this world works. His voice was gentle but firm. Information is currency. Someone on my staff will talk to someone in another family. The security footage from last night will be copied and sold. Your face. Lily's face. They're already making the rounds. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. It was from last night, Sophie and Lily entering Russo's, time-stamped and clear. This was taken by one of my security cameras, Dante said. And this morning, I found out it had been copied and sent to 3 different email addresses. I'm handling it, but the point is made. The secret is already out. Sophie felt like the walls were closing in. So what do you want? For us to hide here forever? I want you to be safe. To let me provide security, resources, stability. Dante set the phone aside. As for boundaries and rules, I'm not trying to control your life, Sophie. I'm trying to save it. By making us dependent on you. By giving you options you don't currently have. He stood, walked to the window. Right now you work 2 jobs to barely make rent. You're 1 emergency away from homelessness. Lily goes to an underfunded public school where the teacher-to-student ratio is 30-1. You can't afford proper medical care, so you put off doctor's visits until absolutely necessary. Every word was true, and every word hurt. If you move in here, Dante continued, Lily gets her own room, stability, security. You stop working yourself to exhaustion. She goes to a private school where she'll actually get attention and resources. You both have access to the best healthcare, the best of everything. And what do you get? Sophie asked. Because I don't believe you're doing this out of pure altruism. Dante turned to face her. I get to keep a promise I made to my sister. I get to protect the only family I have left. And I get to give Lily the life Marco should have given her. That's not your responsibility. It became my responsibility the moment I saw her eyes and knew who she was. His voice was absolute. In my world, family is everything. You protect your own, always. No exceptions. Sophie stood, needing to move, to think. What about my job? The library? Keep it if you want. Or don't. That's your choice. My independence? You'll have your own space, your own schedule. I'm not a jailer, Sophie. You can come and go as you please. But he held up a hand as she started to protest. But you'll have security with you. Always. Non-negotiable. So I'll be followed everywhere. You'll be protected everywhere. There's a difference. Not to me. Dante crossed his arms. Then let me ask you something. Would you rather have your pride intact and Lily kidnapped? Or would you rather accept help and keep her safe? That's not fair. Life isn't fair. But I'm offering you a way to make it better. Safer. More stable. He moved closer. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you've built a life on your own terms, and you're proud of that. You should be. But pride doesn't stop bullets, Sophie. It doesn't prevent kidnappings. It doesn't keep 6-year-old girls safe from men who see them as leverage. Sophie wanted to argue, but the photos were still spread across his desk. The evidence of a world she didn't understand but could no longer ignore. I need to think, she said finally. Take all the time you need. Dante checked his watch. Why don't you and Lily stay for lunch? Let her play. Let yourself see what this could be like. Then decide. Before Sophie could respond, Rosa appeared at the door. Mr. Russo, sorry to interrupt, but Lily has a question for her mother. They followed Rosa back to the playroom. Lily sat in a reading nook built into the wall, surrounded by books, her face serious. Mama, she said. Rosa says if we stay here, I could have a real birthday party, with friends and cake and everything. Sophie's chest tightened. Lily's birthday was in 3 weeks. She'd been planning to get a cake from the grocery store, maybe invite the neighbor's kid over. That was all they could afford. We'll see, baby. But Rosa says there's a big backyard and we could have it outside, and I could invite kids from school. Real friends. Lily's voice was plaintive. I've never had real friends at my party before, because they couldn't afford it. Because Sophie worked weekends and couldn't host parties. Because their apartment was too small and Sophie was too proud to accept charity from other parents. Dante appeared beside Sophie, his voice quiet. I'd like to give her that. A real birthday. The kind she deserves. You're using my daughter to manipulate me. I'm offering my great-niece a birthday party. His eyes met hers. But yes, I'm also showing you what your life could be like here. Is that manipulation? Or is it just presenting options you wouldn't have otherwise? Sophie looked at Lily, surrounded by books and toys and possibilities. Then at Dante, dangerous and powerful but somehow sincere. Then at Rosa, who watched them all with the knowing eyes of someone who'd seen this family through generations. Can I see the room? Sophie asked. The one you've prepared for Lily? Dante's expression didn't change, but Sophie saw satisfaction flicker in his eyes. Of course. He led them upstairs to the 3rd floor. At the end of the hallway, he opened a door. The room was a 6-year-old's dream. Pale purple walls, a canopy bed with soft white curtains, a window seat with cushions perfect for reading, built-in shelves waiting to be filled, a desk with art supplies, soft carpet and gentle lighting, and everything designed with a child's comfort in mind. But it was the details that broke Sophie's heart. A stuffed cat on the bed, identical to Mr. Whiskers. A small bookshelf already filled with fairy tales and adventures. A mobile hanging from the ceiling with stars and moons. How did you know? Sophie whispered. I called the library, Dante admitted. Asked your coworker what Lily might like. Then I had Rosa set this up, based on her suggestions. Lily was already climbing onto the bed, bouncing on the mattress. Mama, look, it's so soft. Sophie turned to Dante. You're making this impossible to refuse. That's the idea. What about my room? Next door. He opened the adjoining door. Sophie's room was more sophisticated but equally thoughtful. A queen bed with a thick duvet, a reading chair by the window, a desk with good lighting, cream walls and hardwood floors, and a bathroom with a tub that actually looked big enough to soak in. It's connected to Lily's so you can hear her at night, Dante explained. But you have your own space, your own privacy. Sophie walked to the window. It overlooked the backyard, where she could see the swing set, the garden, the high fence topped with security cameras. A prison, she'd thought last night. But looking at it now, watching Lily's reflection in the window as she explored her potential room with wonder, Sophie thought maybe it was something else. Maybe it was a sanctuary. I need to call the library, Sophie said. Tell them I'm not coming in today. Dante pulled out his phone. Already done. I had Vincent call this morning. Told them you had a family emergency. You had no right. You're right. I'm sorry. He looked genuinely apologetic. I overstepped. But I wanted you to have a day without worrying about work. To just focus on this decision. Sophie should be angry, should resent his presumption. But she was so tired of carrying everything alone. 1 week, she heard herself say. We'll stay for 1 week, trial basis. If it doesn't work, if I feel too controlled or Lily seems uncomfortable, we leave. No arguments. Agreed. Dante offered his hand. 1 week trial. But Sophie, I think you'll find that sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Sophie didn't take his hand. And I think you'll find that I'm not as easy to manage as you assume. Something that might have been a smile tugged at his mouth. I'm counting on it. Vincent appeared at the door. Boss, sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Dante's expression shifted instantly, going from almost warm to ice cold. What kind of situation? Moretti situation. They just made contact. They know about the girl. Sophie's blood went cold. Dante's jaw tightened. Get everyone to the security room. Now. He turned to Sophie. Stay here with Lily. Rosa will stay with you. Don't leave this floor until I come back. What's happening? What I warned you about. His voice was hard. The threats I said were coming. They're here. He was gone before Sophie could respond. Vincent following. Rosa appeared in the doorway, her face calm but serious. Come, Miss Chen, let's keep Lily occupied while the men handle business. Handle business, Sophie repeated. You mean deal with people who want to hurt my daughter? Mr. Russo won't let that happen. Rosa's voice was certain. He's protected this family for 20 years. He won't fail now. Sophie pulled Lily close, her heart hammering. One night, they'd known about Lily's existence for less than 24 hours, and already someone was making threats. Maybe Dante had been right about everything. Maybe the only safe place for Lily was behind these walls, under this protection. Maybe Sophie's independence was a luxury they couldn't afford anymore. In the security room, Dante watched the monitors with cold focus. Vincent stood beside him, tablet in hand. Moretti sent a message through the usual channels. Vincent said, says he heard a rumor about Gabriella having a granddaughter, wants to know if it's true. And, what did you tell him? Nothing. Waited for you. Dante studied the screens showing every angle of his property. If we deny it, he'll investigate anyway. If we confirm it, we show weakness. There's a third option, Vincent said carefully. We confirm it and make it clear that anyone who touches her dies screaming. That's not an option, that's a promise. Dante turned to his head of security. Double the guards on this property. I want eyes on Miss Chen and Lily at all times. Background checks on every staff member, even the ones who've been with us for years. Someone leaked information about last night. Find out who, already on it, and send a message to Moretti. Dante's voice went deadly quiet. Tell him yes, the rumors are true. Gabriella's granddaughter exists, and she's under my personal protection. Anyone who even looks at her wrong will learn what happens when you threaten a Russo. Vincent nodded. That's going to start a war. The war started the moment Moretti decided to ask about her. Dante looked at the monitor showing Sophie's floor. He could see her through the window, holding Lily close, looking scared and determined. But this time, I have something worth fighting for. That changes everything. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Tony, it's Dante. I need a favor. Surveillance on the Moretti family operations, full spectrum. And I need information on every member of their crew. Names, addresses, families. I want leverage on all of them. That's aggressive, Tony said on the other end. You declaring war? I'm declaring protection, but if they make it war, I'll end them. Dante ended the call and turned to Vincent. What's our vulnerability assessment on Miss Chen's apartment? Total liability. Ground floor, windows facing an alley, cheap locks, no security system. If someone wanted access, they'd have it in under 30 seconds. Then get a team there tonight, pack up everything, clean the place out, break the lease, pay whatever penalties. By tomorrow morning, I want that location completely disconnected from them. And if Miss Chen protests? She will. Dante smiled without humor. But she'll understand why it's necessary. She's smart, stubborn, but smart. Vincent hesitated. Boss, you're moving fast on this. Maybe too fast. We don't know these people. Miss Chen could be. She's not a plant. She's not a threat. Dante's voice was absolute. She's a woman who got caught in our world by accident, and now she's paying the price for Marco's mistakes. How can you be sure? Because I've spent the last 12 hours having every moment of her life investigated. Dante pulled up a file on the computer. Sophie Chen, 29, born in Chicago to immigrants who died when she was 19, worked her way through library school while working full-time. No criminal record, no connections to any family, no red flags whatsoever. She's exactly what she appears to be. A good woman trying to raise her daughter alone. People can hide things. Not from me. Dante closed the file. And not from you. You've been in this business for 30 years, Vincent. Tell me honestly, does she feel like a threat? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No. She feels like a complication. A different kind of problem. What kind? The kind where you start caring more about protecting than controlling. Vincent met Dante's eyes. I've known you since you were 15 years old. I've never seen you look at someone the way you looked at her last night. Like she was a puzzle and a promise and a problem all at once. Dante turned back to the monitors. She's family, that's all. She's not your family yet. She's Marco's mistake. Gabriella's granddaughter by blood, but not yours. You don't owe her anything beyond basic protection. I owe her everything. Dante's voice was rough. Marco abandoned her, left her pregnant and alone. Failed her the way he failed everyone. That debt falls to me now. I pay my nephew's debts. All of them. Even if paying it costs you? Especially then. Vincent sighed. You're going to fall for her. If you haven't already. I barely know her. You know enough. Vincent gestured to the monitors. You know she's brave enough to walk into a Mafia restaurant alone at night. Smart enough to protect her daughter by any means necessary. Strong enough to refuse your money when most people would have taken it and run. That's more than enough. Dante didn't respond. Because Vincent was right, and they both knew it. He'd spent 12 hours learning everything about Sophie Chen. Her work history, her financial struggles, her complete lack of family or support system, and with every detail, his respect had grown. She'd built a life from nothing, raised a daughter alone with grace and determination, never asked for help, never complained, never quit. She was extraordinary, and she had no idea. Make sure they're comfortable, Dante said finally. Whatever they need, provide it. And Vincent, I want daily reports. Who they talk to, where they go, anything unusual. Not because I don't trust them, but because I need to know if threats are approaching. Understood. Dante left the security room and climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. He found Sophie and Lily in the playroom, Rosa reading to them from a picture book. All three looked up when he entered. Is it handled? Sophie asked, her voice tight. For now. Dante knelt down to Lily's level. Lily, would you do me a favor? Would you tell Rosa what kind of birthday cake you like? I want to make sure we get it right for your party. Lily's eyes lit up. Chocolate with strawberry frosting. Perfect. Rosa, why don't you take Lily to the kitchen? Let her look at the cake catalogs. Rosa nodded, understanding the dismissal. She took Lily's hand and led her out, leaving Dante and Sophie alone. Tell me the truth, Sophie said once they were gone. How bad is it? The Moretti family knows about Lily. They've made inquiries. What kind of inquiries? The kind that require a response. Dante sat in the chair Rosa had vacated. I've sent word that Lily is under my direct protection. That any threat to her is a threat to me personally. That should be enough to make them back off. Should be. Nothing is certain in this world, Sophie. But I've made it clear that attacking her would cost more than any revenge is worth. He leaned forward. However, this means you can't go back to your apartment. It's been compromised. Compromised how? Someone from the Moretti family was seen near your building this morning. They're gathering information. By tonight, they'll know which apartment is yours, what your schedule is, when Lily goes to school. Sophie's face went pale. Oh my God. I'm having your things packed and moved here today. Vincent will handle the lease termination. You don't have to go back there. You're making decisions about my life without asking me. I'm making decisions that keep you alive. Dante's voice was firm but not harsh. Sophie, I know this feels like I'm taking control. But sometimes, when the danger is immediate and real, there's no time for democratic process. There's only action. Sophie stood, paced to the window. This is happening too fast. 24 hours ago, I was a librarian returning a book. Now I'm moving into a Mafia boss's house, being threatened by people I don't even know, and making decisions that change my daughter's entire life. I know. Dante stood as well. And I'm sorry. If I could have protected you without disrupting your life, I would have. But the moment Lily walked into my restaurant, the moment people saw her eyes and made the connection, there was no going back. Is it always going to be like this? Sophie turned to face him. Living in fear, looking over our shoulders, wondering who's watching? At first, yes. Until I make it clear that touching either of you means death. Until the other families understand that you're not a weakness to exploit, but a line they can't cross." His eyes held hers. "But Sophie, I promise you, I will make this world safe for Lily, whatever it takes, however long it takes." "How can you promise that? You can't control everything. Watch me." The absolute certainty in his voice should have been arrogant. Instead, it was oddly comforting. "I need to call my landlord," Sophie said. "And the library. Tell them what's happening. Tell them you have a family emergency, that you'll be in touch. Don't give details, don't mention me or Lily's connection to my family. The less people know, the safer everyone is." Sophie nodded slowly. "This is really happening. We're really moving in here. The trial week starts now." Dante moved closer. "And Sophie, thank you for trusting me with this. I know it's not easy." "I'm not trusting you," Sophie corrected. "I'm trusting that you'll protect Lily." "There's a difference. Fair enough." He smiled slightly. "I'll earn the rest eventually." "Don't be so sure." But as Dante left the room, Sophie found herself wondering if maybe, just maybe, he was right. Because for the first time in 6 years, she wasn't facing danger alone. And despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty and complete upheaval of her life, that felt like something worth holding on to. The rest of the day was a blur. Vincent arrived with boxes from Sophie's apartment, everything packed efficiently and professionally. Sophie sorted through her life reduced to cardboard boxes and realized how little she actually had. Clothes, books, kitchen items she wouldn't need in Dante's house. Lily's toys, already shabby compared to the brand new ones downstairs. "I kept your furniture in storage," Vincent said, "in case you want it later. But Mr. Russo thought you'd be more comfortable with the pieces already here." Sophie wanted to be angry about the presumption, but the furniture Dante provided was infinitely better than her worn-out IKEA pieces. Soft, well-made, designed for comfort rather than just function. By evening, they were unpacked. Lily's room looked lived in, her stuffed animals arranged on the bed, her books filling the shelves. Sophie's room was less personal but functional. She'd add her own touches later. If there was a later. Dinner was served in a formal dining room that felt too large for 3 people. Dante sat at the head of the table, Sophie and Lily on either side. Rosa served pasta with a sauce that smelled like heaven. Fresh bread, salad from the garden out back. "This is fancy," Lily said, her eyes wide as she looked at the china plates and crystal glasses. "This is family dinner," Dante corrected gently. "Nothing fancy about family." "Do you eat like this every night?" "Usually I eat at my desk while working." Dante's expression softened. "But now that you're here, I think I'll make time for proper dinners." Sophie watched him interact with Lily. He was gentle, patient, answering her endless 6-year-old questions without condescension. When she asked about his work, he said he helped people. When she asked about the big house, he said it was too big for one person, and he was glad to share it. When she asked if they could stay forever, he looked at Sophie and said that was up to her mother. After dinner, Rosa took Lily for a bath, leaving Sophie and Dante alone with coffee in the library. "She's a remarkable child," Dante said. "Smart, curious, kind. You've done an incredible job with her." "Thank you." Sophie cradled her cup. "It hasn't been easy. I know." Dante stood by the window, looking out at the darkened yard. "I've been thinking about Marco today. About what kind of man abandons a woman carrying his child. What kind of coward runs from responsibility like that? He was young. Scared. He was selfish." Dante's voice was hard. "And Gabriella would have been devastated to know he did that to you. She raised him better." "You blame yourself," Sophie said quietly, "for how he turned out. He was my responsibility. After his father died, I was supposed to guide him, prepare him for this life. Instead, I pushed too hard, expected too much, drove him away. Or he was always going to run. Some people aren't built for the lives they're born into." Dante turned to face her. "What about you, Sophie? What kind of life were you built for?" "A quiet one. Books, routine, safety, everything this isn't. And yet you're here, making impossible choices, facing down threats most people can't imagine. That takes a different kind of strength." "It takes desperation," Sophie corrected. "I'm not brave. I'm just a mother protecting her child. That's the bravest thing anyone can be." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sophie asked the question that had been bothering her all day. What happens if I can't do this? If a week goes by and I realize we can't live like this, will you really let us leave? Dante was quiet for a long time. Honestly, I don't know. Because letting you leave means letting you walk into danger. And I'm not sure I can do that. So I am a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. Not to me, Sophie repeated her earlier words. Then help me understand, Dante said. What would freedom look like to you in this situation? Because I genuinely want to give you as much autonomy as possible. But I need to know what that means to you. Sophie thought about it. Choice. Information. Being part of decisions that affect me and Lily. Not having our lives rearranged without consultation. I can do that. Dante moved to sit across from her. From now on, I'll ask before making changes. I'll explain the reasons behind security measures. I'll give you options when they exist. And when they don't? Then I'll be honest about that too. His eyes held hers. But Sophie, you need to understand. In moments of immediate danger, I'll act first and explain later. I won't risk Lily's safety for the sake of democracy. I wouldn't expect you to. Sophie set down her cup. I just need to feel like I have some control over my own life. Some say in what happens to us. You do, more than you think. Dante leaned forward. You could leave right now. Pack up Lily, walk out that door. I wouldn't physically stop you. But I would follow you, protect you from a distance. Make sure you stayed. Safe whether you wanted my help or not. That's stalking. That's family. His voice was firm. I can't turn it off, Sophie. This need to protect Lily. It's not logical or reasonable. It's blood deep. The moment I saw her eyes, something in me shifted. She became mine to protect. And nothing, not your wishes or my convenience or the entire Moretti family, will change that. Sophie should find it threatening, should resent his presumption. But looking at his face, seeing the absolute conviction there, she found herself believing him. You really would die for her, she said softly. A child you just met. Without hesitation. Why? Because she's Gabriella's granddaughter. Because Marco should have been the one protecting you both, and he failed. Because I've spent my entire life protecting this family, and now she's part of it. He paused. And because when I look at her, I see possibility, hope, something pure and innocent in a world that's usually neither. Sophie's throat tightened. You're making it very hard to maintain my boundaries. Good. Dante's smile was small but genuine. Because I'm not your enemy, Sophie. I'm on your side. Even when you don't want me to be. Rosa appeared in the doorway. Mr. Russo, Lily is ready for bed. She's asking for her mother. Sophie stood. I should go. I'll walk you up. They climbed the stairs in silence. At Lily's door, Sophie paused. Thank you, she said quietly. For today. For making this transition easier than it could have been. It's what family does. We're not your family yet. You will be. Dante said it with such certainty that Sophie didn't know how to respond. She found Lily tucked into the canopy bed, Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest, eyes already drooping. Mama, Lily murmured. This bed is so comfy. I'm glad, baby. Sophie sat on the edge, stroking her daughter's hair. Can we really stay? For my birthday? We'll see. Mr. Dante said he'd teach me Italian, and Rosa said she'd show me how to make pasta. Lily's eyes were bright despite her tiredness. And Vincent said there's a library in the basement with even more books than upstairs. It sounds like you've made friends. Is it okay? Lily looked worried. To like it here, even though it's not home? Sophie's heart broke a little. It's very okay, sweetheart. You can like wherever you are. Good. Lily yawned. 'Cause I think I do like it here. It's warm and safe, and Mr. Dante smiles at me like you do. Like I'm special. You are special. I know, but it's nice when other people see it too. Lily's eyes closed. Love you, Mama. Love you too, baby. Sophie sat there until Lily's breathing evened out, until she was deeply asleep. Then she stood carefully and found Dante still waiting in the hallway. She's happy, Sophie said, and couldn't tell if it was a good thing or a problem. Children adapt quickly. It's a survival mechanism. What about adults? We adapt too, just slower. Dante gestured to Sophie's door. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be another day of changes. Lily's school enrollment, security protocols, meeting the full staff. More decisions made without my input. More information sharing so you can make informed choices, he corrected her gently. I'm learning, Sophie. Give me credit for that. She smiled, despite herself. 1 week trial. Starting now. Starting now, he agreed. Sophie went into her room and closed the door. She stood there for a long moment, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of this new house. Then she walked to the window and looked out at the yard, lit by security lights, monitored by cameras. A prison or a sanctuary. She still didn't know which. But for tonight, with Lily safe and sleeping soundly down the hall, Sophie chose to believe it might be the latter. In his study, Dante poured himself a whiskey he wouldn't drink and pulled up the security feeds. He found the camera showing Sophie's window and watched her shadow move behind the curtains. Vincent appeared in the doorway. You're going to fall in love with her. I know, Dante said quietly. That makes her a weakness. That makes her everything. Vincent sighed. At least you're aware of what you're doing. Doesn't make it any less inevitable. Dante switched cameras to show Lily's room. The little girl slept peacefully, unaware of the guards on her floor, the cameras tracking her, the dangerous world now orbiting around her existence. We'll keep them safe, Vincent said. Whatever it takes, Dante echoed. Because he'd failed Gabriella, failed Marco, failed everyone he'd ever loved by not protecting them well enough, fast enough, completely enough. But he wouldn't fail Lily, or Sophie, even if keeping them safe meant becoming the monster they feared, even if it meant losing himself completely in the process. Some prices were worth paying. And for the little girl with Gabriella's eyes and her mother's fierce heart, Dante would pay any price, gladly. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.